says our stream is healthy.
Ooh, we're healthy.
You gotta like that. Appreciate a little feedback from the analytics letting us know that our stream is healthy. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
That's
There
the
it
end
goes.
of the song.
Yep. I was gonna say I have it on loop. Apparently it fades out and it just kind of calms down for a second.
It's a little techno, but not too techno.
It's not too bad. It's upbeat.
It's kind of fun.
All right, 1 minute. I just gotta remember what we're gonna talk about today.
Are we doing recipes today?
Yes. The best Taco Bell recipes that you can find online.
And it pairs well with Mountain Dew.
It does. It's the best.
We're gonna get so sick of this song.
This is only the first time we've actually been
I
playing it,
know,
though.
right?
You can't get sick of it. And there's only a couple of seconds left. And then we get to go live with this.
Oh my
Ooh, that
gosh.
timed out pretty well. That was
Wow,
actually the
good
end of the
job.
song. All I had to do was hit pause, and it was like perfectly timed. Well done,
Oh,
Sue, with that.
Oh, well, you know, it was all my doing, of course.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Yes,
All
it
right,
was.
just checking to make sure. It's interesting on Facebook, at least on mine, it doesn't actually play the video. So I have the Facebook Live up. It shows that we're live. It shows that we've been live, but it just shows a screenshot
Oh, okay.
of, you know, like
That's
the
interesting.
initial feed it gets. So where YouTube, when you look at the actual stream, it's the actual stream. I'm
there.
looking at the actual stream. Yeah. So it always Facebook, you freak me out a little bit because it's just a still shot. But it says it's live, so I'm assuming it's live. It must be live. It's got to be
It
live.
must
I
be
mean,
live.
we're
It's
live.
gotta be live.
We're live.
I'm alive.
You are alive, and today we're going to talk about live streaming cost. And the reality is, you can pretty much do it for free based on current, you know, expenses you have, such as internet, obviously, and then you need to have a phone or a camera or something like that. And then we're going to talk about kind of scaling it up and what to expect as far as live streaming costs. That's right up after this fabulous branded intro. All right, there we go, folks.
Wow.
You can't be, it's like, you know, back in the old days when Facebook first came out, it's like nothing was official until it was on Facebook. And then it became like,
right.
Once it was Facebook official, it's official. It's kind of like if you've got a live anything or recorded anything, if you don't have a branded intro, it's not really live. You got to have a branded intro. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just playing around. So we had to throw.
We're not playing around.
No, we're not playing around, folks. Although I don't have my headsets or my earbuds in, which I should, so we're not getting any echo. I apologize, folks.
You don't have the earbuds, and my camera isn't working. So,
And your camera isn't working.
I got
yes.
my old camera, so you know, hey.
Although you got all
technology.
those fancy notes behind you, it's probably a good thing we don't have the crystal clear. Otherwise,
No, you
the
don't.
competitors
All my
might be
secrets.
stealing all your thoughts and ideas.
Oh yes, all of them are right there. There's
All
only
right.
that many.
There's only that many, but those are the good ones, folks. It's
Oh,
after,
yes.
you know, there's like 5 or 6 of those that have been condensed down into the one page. So, All right. So let's talk about live streaming. I was just doing another call, and it's really interesting all the things that they were talking about with where we're in a place now with what's happened in 2020 that we can actually more people are open to shifting.
Yes.
And so the gentleman who was the guest, he does event services for larger corporations, and so he's had to pivot,
Yeah.
excuse the overused
Right.
term, in 2020, and now he's working with kind of high-end speakers who are still doing they need their speakers. That's how they get paid, but they need to have a
Right.
higher end quality type of deal. And so it's just interesting the resistance that people had to say
Yes.
live streaming, where it's like, no, it's got to be in person. I've been doing conferences and I've been getting people hurrah, hurrah. Um, but as things are shifting, and they were also talking about the fact that you can kind of move forward in resistance or overwork yourself for about 3 to 6 months, and then the body just physically says you need to take a break. And if you don't mentally are aware of that and take a break, then you end up getting sick, whatever. So we're kind of in that 6 month, we're a little past that 6 month window. And where I'm kind of curious, and maybe those that are watching can answer this, where's your mindset now with live as far as may it be your marketing plan for your business? May it be for generating revenue for a nonprofit, as an example? Um, how has that shifting changed? Maybe you were an early adopter, or
Mhm.
maybe you're kind of coming into the end of Q4 2020 when this is recorded, or recording, because we are recording live. Um, like, oh, okay, maybe I've resisted long enough and I'm tired of running this marathon, and I need to kind of shift into the fact that we're in a different world and
Right.
allow things to be different. Uh,
Yes. It definitely is a different world.
Yeah, it's a different world, and that means some different tools. However, this gentleman in particular is having great success with all of these changing pieces. So I think when you stop resisting what is and and it's not that what is okay necessarily, but
But
okay,
it is.
this is, and
Yeah.
then going, all right, what can I do for myself? What can I do to help other people? It's one of the main reasons why we started this show is what
Mhm.
can we do to help you? And part of that is going to be people just need to get on the bandwagon that you're going to need to start live streaming. Even if we go back to live, there's still going to be a segment of people who want to be remote. And you're going to be able to pull audiences from all over the world,
Yeah.
where it's like, there's this great conference going on in Australia, as an example. I might be motivated if I wanted to travel to Australia, but if I've been there multiple times, I may not
Right.
be as motivated to spend the money, the time, and the energy to
Sure.
go versus going, I'm going to stay at home, hang out in my house in Santa Rosa and be able to stay in my PJs and just live stream and still connect with some wonderful people.
Right.
So that begs the
Exactly.
question, Sue. What
Yes.
what what does it cost to live stream? And I
What
think
does
we
it
already kind
cost
of
to
touched
live stream?
on this fancy device because you
I
use
mean,
this fancy device all the time for one of
I
your
do.
shows.
I use it all the time, and it's a go-to, easy, very easy, free tool to use. That you can do a lot of stuff for free, and a lot of people are just, they're doing stuff for free. They're getting on and they're winging it, which is great. I mean, that's one way to at least get started in what we're doing. And there is a learning curve for a lot of people jumping in where, they are kind of winging it and trying to figure things out. But you and I have talked many times about, when we are working with our clients, the biggest hurdle, or where everything takes the most time, is that pre-planning.
Right.
Because
And and I
we're
would say
working.
technology, right? Because a
Well,
lot of
yes. Oh,
people,
oh,
this
for
is
sure.
so foreign to them, and
Yes.
that's why I think why Zoom took off so quickly is because of
Yes.
how easy and accessible it was.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
we're in a place, like you said, where there are some people who are early adopters, people who are on board, they are already in the midst of doing live streaming events. They're getting used to it. They're
Mm-hmm.
finding out what's working, what's not working for them. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. We wanted to take the experience to the next level.
Right.
And so when you're taking those things to the next level, rather than just jumping on iPhone and winging it, is actually doing some pre-planning. What is that run of the show? We talk over and over again about the run of the show.
Right.
And that is such a huge planning tool for what comes first, what comes next, what's the logical thing, how is it going to flow, how do all the pieces fit together, so that it really does come off as a fully produced professional show, live show. We still call it a show.
Right.
But we've talked and we've worked with lots of clients that we start with the run of the show, and then they go, oh, you know what we could do? Because there's a creativity piece to it,
Right.
and there's a learning piece, and they go, oh, could we do this?
Right.
Yes, we can. And then that changes everything. So there is a significant amount of time that's spent doing the pre-planning, from not only from a creative coming up with the ideas. What are we going to do? What are we going to do that's different? How are we going to serve the goals of, this event, where getting you from point A to point B, meeting the goal successfully, and what does that look like, and what do we need to do, and let's be creative. So there's those meetings, just like everybody loves meetings, right?
So let's separate this then, because when you talk about what does it cost to go live, so there's physical cost as far as equipment.
Sure.
And I think for those that are kind of the DIY type of people, you literally, if you have a phone and internet, you are ready to go. Simple as that. The one additional thing that maybe some people don't have that I recommend would be having a tripod, so that your phone is stable and not moving around.
Yes.
Then I think the next step up is then going, oh, okay, am I going to pay for a platform where, such as vLive or even Zoom, because you can live stream through Zoom, where, okay, do I want to have multiple people? And then, so you're talking, maybe $20 to $40 a month to have a service that's going to offer you more variety, but it's a DIY in the sense that you are the show producer, and more than likely you're going to be the talent that's on the show. So you have dual roles.
Right.
And they're going to allow you to, have multiple people come on, and you can do some graphics to those type of things. We did a video a while back, I'll link it down below, that kind of talks about all the different hardware, software, what does it take? And then of course, if you're going to really level it up for, businesses, nonprofits, then the question becomes, okay, this probably isn't the best use of my time as a business owner or as the director for a nonprofit. Are we going to outsource that service? And I think that's kind of where you're talking about with the run of the show and all of the different things. It's like, okay, for people that are looking to outsource the service, why is it so expensive? I think that's kind of one of the things that people say. It's like, I only want to do a 1-hour event. Right. And then why is it cost X number of dollars? And the prices really vary. Even here in Sonoma County, you can get a wide range for a 1-hour show of, say, $1,500 to $2,000, and then you can go up from there. And I would even venture to say it could be $5,000 or $6,000, depending on or more, depending on who you talk to, where is it going to be at. So there's a lot of things to consider. Mm-hmm. Just like running your business, if you've never run a business before, there's all these things that you didn't know to consider. Or if you're the director of a nonprofit, there's all these things you didn't know to consider. And when you work with an event company, such as Virtual Livecast or vLiveCast, is that there's that understanding of all the things that go into it. So you're talking, and for some reason, my mic keeps on clipping onto my shirt, and it's like tugging on my ear. It's so annoying. Mercury's coming in the retrograde or something. I don't know.
It's already in.
So I think one of the things that maybe people don't understand for the cost of the show is that if you're going to do a live event, especially if there's multiple people moving parts, then all of that choreography needs to be done ahead of time, which is what you were talking. You can't just go,
Yes.
well, I want to have four people talk, and two of the people are going to have PowerPoints, and we're going to have a host, and that's it.
And then we're
And,
gonna and
but
then
I
we're gonna
only
bring in, oh, we can bring in a recorded video to put into that too. Oh,
right.
okay, we want to do that too.
Right, sure. Yeah, and people are always going to want to add more because they
Yes.
don't know, especially I think now this is such a new concept. They don't necessarily know what's available to them. And
Hmm.
so there is a learning curve in the beginning of educating the client. This is what's possible, but once you because it is a show, think of SNL. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the
Right.
behind the scene things that they're doing to put that
Right.
show on, but it's amazing the number of crew, the number of hours, the number
Hmm.
of additions, or not additions, but when they're actually doing the skets and moving,
Right.
it's amazing how much time and energy it takes to do that.
Absolutely.
So having that run of the show, I think, is really important, and that is literally you're sketching out what that entire hour looks like, from what transition, which asset, is there going to be audio, is there,
Right.
when I say audio, like music, is there going to be a video playing,
Sure.
PowerPoint, where are those assets going to reside, who's going to make those changes, the
And
graphics,
the graphics, I was
right?
just going to say that all the graphics. I mean, that we do a lot of the graphics for a lot of our clients. Sometimes they provide them themselves, but
Right,
you got to that's a project management piece. Okay, who's going to
right,
do it, and when are you going to get it, and are they going to be correct, and we have to test everything, and that's where you were talking about from a technological standpoint, testing everything. Oh,
right.
we'd like to do X, Y, and Z. Let's make sure that works.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get everybody on and do a trial run, and those things take time. And then it's working out, sometimes working out little bugs where you're like, okay, that part didn't work, or I'm not sure about why this was doing this. Let's figure that out to make sure that we have a really good transition and it's not going to look clunky or
Right,
sound weird.
right.
So there's a
Because
lot of times there's working through that stuff.
yeah, because ideally, when you put on maybe a conference or a nonprofit fundraising event, everything just works seamlessly from one person to another,
Hmm.
to maybe some little video vignettes that you've included, and there's this smooth, and nobody's really surprised because they've done all the rehearsal ahead of time. We were
Right.
talking earlier, I think it was Fred Astaire, and I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but back when he was making movies and dancing, he would put in like an hour, 2 hours for every minute of dance. So if
Wow.
if he did a 5 minute dance, he might put in upwards of 10 hours of
10
practice
hours.
just for
Exactly.
that 5 minute of dance. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, as to be expected. Because if I take my
Sure.
car in for, replacing the transmission, I may not know that there's all these other things that they have to pull out before they can
Right.
even remove the transmission. Where I'm like, well, you pull it
Just
out,
take it out.
yeah, you pull it out, you put it in. How hard that can that be? Come on, you guys got tools, right? Can't be that difficult. So it's really about the pre-production work that goes
Yeah.
into it.
Well, I love it. It's the education part for everyone, getting used to doing these events when you are going to, hire out to have somebody help you. And it's always, we've heard it many times where people go, oh, I didn't realize. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. You're doing all that. Oh, we have to do that. Oh, well, how's that going to work? Wow. You guys are really doing a lot of work.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we really are. And people just don't understand ahead of time until you get into the process.
right.
And that's where we were talking about, the design, the testing, all of the meetings,
And
all of
even
the,
script writing, which is something that I think a lot of
ah,
clients don't think about. They just know we've got to do something. Somebody will talk for
yeah,
5 minutes about something. Well, that should be rehearsed. There should be some script. There's got to be a purpose. You have to engage, and we talk about within
right.
the run of the show is also the flow of the show, right? So
Yes,
making
exactly.
sure that there's an ebb and flow, and being able
Right.
to
And yeah, with that is, okay, if your host is going to be, coming into the next piece, well, what is that piece and what is
right,
that host going to say in the script. And then of course, if you're doing call to actions, we're going to need a call to action. When are you going to do those call to actions? That is going to be the appropriate time to get people to respond. So that all has to be scripted out ahead of time. And I think that's a lot of times people go, oh, okay, I guess I need to do a script now. And that's again, it's like, it's all this learning experience, and you go, yeah, got to do that ahead of time. So
yeah. And I think the other thing is, if we kind of shift away from that, then is also hardware, because with everything that's going on in 2020, it's not like you can just necessarily set up a camera and bring in a whole crew. And maybe you don't want to keep costs down. However, there is a big difference. So right now, you can see video-wise, I'm running off of a Canon camera, DSLR. Sue, unfortunately, technology-wise, is restricted to her laptop camera right now. And you can notice the quality difference, but these are things that will affect the quality of the production. Do you as a business or a nonprofit, do you have the equipment and the lighting, as an example? I was talking to somebody today, the importance of lighting. And let me just turn my lights off real quick, especially with the background. And when I was talking to him, it was like 11, so the light was shining in. You could barely see my face. Do you have the equipment? Oh, there we go. I still had one light on.
I was like, you look great.
Yeah, looks great.
I'll turn this light on.
So the question then becomes, okay, are you going to incorporate some additional hardware? Do you need a camera on set? Do you need lighting? Do you need audio? And then it's also going to be, how many locations do you have? That will severely impact the cost, because then you've got to send a kit, or you have to send a videographer out. Plus, each location's got to have proper internet speed, a proper computer connection in order to do all this. And this all affects the cost of a live stream.
Exactly. And like a lot of times you will broadcast, a show completely remotely from your location, and you've had to get, the big good internet in order to make sure that you don't run into problems. So there's a cost there, in addition to some of the software that you've had to invest in and get going.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. So as an example, if you're thinking about live streaming and you're still on, let's say, copper DSLR, I'm not going to name names. But there are certain companies that are still selling DSL. Yes. Getting my internet and my cameras confused. But they're still selling DSL packages that are very inexpensive, which work great for low end stuff. But if you want to actually live stream HD, you need to have good internet. And so you've got to pay for those additional costs in order to do it.
Right. Yeah. No. So and this is the funny thing. So I was just looking at my notes, and I'm like, oh, that's right. A lot of the stuff that I do is, I'm kind of like, I get to work with all the clients. I'm the client liaison. Making sure we've got the information for the run of the show. I get to be herding cats. So trying to get all the information that everybody goes, oh yeah, that's right. You need that. Yeah. I'm going to need to know the names of the people and their titles. And I'm going to need those, assets. Where are the photos that we're going to put together for your pre-roll? Where are the videos that we're going to be using? And the logos, the sponsor logos, all these different things.
Somebody has to manage all of that. And if you as a company or nonprofit don't want to do it, then that gets kind of built into the cost of production. Exactly.
And it honestly, it does take time. Yeah. I don't mind so much. I like talking to my clients and everything, but at the same time, that can affect your costs. And then like we said, especially, making changes or not hitting deadlines, that can change your cost, because
and it could affect the quality of the show also, right? Because most people that are doing live events, or going from live to virtual, event companies in general, you're not the only client typically. Ideally, if the company's going to stay in business, they have multiple. So They have to calendar out time
Yep.
to dedicate to this client, to this client. And if you've been calendared in this time and the content's not received, then there could be back end cost in order to facilitate your needs, or the quality of the production is
Right.
compromised, which we never like to see on our end
No.
because we're firm believers of test, 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 test.
Test, test, test. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And one project we've worked on too, where we've brought in additional staff, where there's the two of us that can do a lot of the heavy lifting, and we've got a fair amount of equipment that we can use. But occasionally we have to bring in additional staff,
Right.
so that can affect your cost as well. So either additional equipment that needs to be rented, or that kind of thing, or additional staff in
Right.
order to really help and facilitate and make sure that it's done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So that can affect the cost as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other things is when you talk about cost is that the time of the show is not always going to be a direct reflection of the cost. So
Yes.
as an example, it's almost I like clothing. They people go, why do kids' clothes cost as much as, or if not even more expensive than adult clothing? When they're like
It's
they're
small.
they're like a quarter the size or less. And the reality is it's because the garment itself, the fabric, isn't that expensive. It's all of the cutting out, the stitching, it's the
Stitching.
labor that goes
Yeah.
into it, which is actually very similar regardless of the size. So a lot of times, when if people want, let's say, a half hour show, you still have all of this pre-prep work. You still need to go
Yeah.
through and figure out what the run of the show is. You still have to figure out what the design is. You still have to figure out what the script is. You still have to figure out where's the location, what type of equipment is needed. All of that still goes, and you've got to pre-test everything with everybody. You got to do rehearsal with the people that are going to be involved. All of that kind of really takes almost the same amount of time as
It
if you
does.
were going to do a 2 hour show or a 3 hour show or a 4 hour
Mhm.
show. So a
Yeah,
lot of
I'll give
times,
you an I'll
go
give you
ahead.
an analogy. I'll give you an analogy from my past life as a realtor. So it's going to, as a realtor, will put a listing on, and you will do exactly the same process, the same
Yeah,
paperwork, the same process
yeah,
for a $200,000 mobile home as you would a $2 million home.
right,
So the effort is the same,
right.
but
The
you're
paycheck's a little
you know
smaller.
the paycheck's just a little bit
It's a little
smaller.
bit
Yeah,
smaller. Yeah.
just a
So
tiny.
yeah, so that would
But
be
you
the
still
other.
have to do all the work. Yeah.
Correct. So that would be one of the things I would let people know is that if they like, but I only need a half hour, 45-minute, hour show, and it's going to cost me $1,500, $2,000 to do that. But it's only an hour. So you guys are charging $1,500 to $2,000 an hour. That's the going rate. No, no,
No.
no, no. There's
No.
all the other things that we've talked about during the show that go
Yeah.
into it. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, when you break it all down, and like I said, I used to be a realtor, and sometimes when you break things down and you actually look at the amount of time that you have spent on
hmm
something, you look at it and you go, I made $20 an hour?
yeah.
Wait, what?
Wait. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, people don't realize it. They just think it's this, oh, you're making a big commission check. And this is the same thing, with the projects that we're working on. It seems like a lot of money, but the reality is sometimes we're really not making that much money
Right. And yeah.
because there are so many expenses. It can
Right.
happen depending on what the project is.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, very
yeah.
much so. All right. What's wise words, wisdom of the day from you? Put me on the
Wise
spot.
words, wisdom of the word. Okay. I would say, uh, number one, give yourself enough time to plan. If you think you only need 3 weeks to plan something, give yourself 6.
It's the rule of twos, right? Double everything to be on
Double
the safe
it.
side. Yeah.
Exactly. Then that you get the leeway, and you won't have the crunch time and the stress, and
Right.
you'll have enough time to go and collect things and put them all together. We have enough time to collect things, get things put together, get our approvals on everything, because sometimes those approvals for some of the design work, or some of maybe the music that we're using, or different things, has to go through an approval process through
Right.
the companies. So it's not just one person who's making that decision, it's got to go to 4 different people, or it's got to go to the board, or it's got to
Right.
go to the committee. And sometimes, sometimes that takes
It
time.
takes a little bit of time, which is
Yeah.
understanding, especially as you get
Yeah.
into larger organizations. You might have to get
Yes.
legal involved just to double check things. So yeah,
Exactly.
definitely time it. The other thing that I would like to add is that if you get two fortune cookies, just open one at a time.
That is solid advice, Ryan.
Solid
Solid
advice.
advice. I think I might.
That is what I'm here for, Sue.
I think I might. I think I might get Chinese tonight. That sounds
All
good.
right, do it. Yeah, I say totally do it.
Well, good.
I was on a training call last night, and one of the students in the class lives on a farm, and he's in Australia. And
Nice.
it's funny because he was one of the main people that was talking at this moment, and the cows in the pasture were going nuts. They were just,
Really?
and I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, and it's like six. I was getting close to
And
six
you're like,
o'clock at night.
a
I'm getting
burger sounds
hungry.
good.
I'm like, a burger sounds good. You better believe it. So
Oh
if you
man.
end up with Chinese food, I totally understand.
There you go.
That's it. So
Thanks for planting the seed.
you're very welcome. For those that are watching, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts about the video, about the cost of live streaming, or just live streaming questions in general, we're here to help. Just let us know. We'll do our best to answer them in the best ways that we know how in order to help and support you.
Exactly.
Uh,
We do it mostly with fortune cookies, so it's good.
Mostly with fortune cookies or Mountain Dew. Depends on the day.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. All right, Sue, that's all I got, unless you
Okay.
got something.
No, make sure you guys tune in next week, next Tuesday, 4 p.m. We'll be back with another great topic.
Yeah, sounds like fun. All right, until then, I hope y'all have a great week. Take care.